Hello, I'm Bernie with Aerodynamics HVAC, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about airflow control, pressures, and the importance of return airflow. If you're noticing a draft going in your basement, there's a good chance that you have a large return in the basement. And what's happening there is the basement return is pulling most of your return air rather than the rest of the home. You know, the air is kind of like water. It's going to take the path of least resistance. So if you have a big wide open return in the basement where your furnace is located, then the issue is going to be that air is not going to pull from the upper levels above. So what you want to try to do is kind of decrease the air that we're pulling into the basement and make sure that we have the proper ductwork going to the levels above to pull the actual return air from the levels above rather than the unfinished basement. To a certain extent, I mean, you can take a look around, make sure that you actually have return vents in your bedrooms, return vents on the levels above your basement. If you do not have vents, then I definitely wouldn't shut down the one in the basement. It's your only return for the system. So you can look at that, but other than that, I'd really recommend you call a professional because we'll be able to come out and kind of understand the pressure problems in the home and then also understand where the lack of return is and where we're getting too much return. To test the return air yourself, you could use a tissue test. Grab a tissue out of your tissue box, go over to your return and put it to the vent. If that tissue gets stuck to the vent and you can see it's pulling in well, chances are you have pretty good return air in that space. And I would take that tissue to each return vent in the house and see where you have insufficient return. The fix could be complicated depending on the home, ductwork location, and where we have access to the ducts. Ultimately, you need to make sure you have sufficient ductwork running to the actual return vents that are capable of pulling that return air back, or it could possibly just be a simple balance. We may have larger returns where they don't belong and smaller returns where they should be larger, or just air pulling from the nearest return and not pulling from the farthest return. You can basically make repairs to that by adding in balancing dampers, or if you have existing dampers, we could adjust those dampers and adjust where the airflow is coming from. Negative air pressure could definitely be a problem. We see the biggest problems with negative air pressure in a home and with homes with fireplaces. We've actually seen to where it'll pull the fire out of the fireplace or it'll pull the ashes and debris out of the fireplace into the home. You don't want your home in a negative pressure because you can't control where the air coming into the home is coming from. For example, if your home's a negative pressure and you start your car in the garage, that home is going to pull in all the fumes from that garage directly into the house. Where if you were in a slight positive pressure in your garage, the fumes are going to be pushed outside the house. You want your home to be as neutral as possible when it comes to air pressure. If you're too much in a negative position, again, you're going to be pulling air in from spaces that you just don't know where it's coming from. But if you're too much in a positive area, then you're pushing all your conditioned air right out the windows or out the doors and the cracks in your houses. So you really want to try to get to a good place where your home is in a neutral pressure position. People forget that an air conditioning process is actually the removal of heat. It's not just putting cold air into a space. We need to take the heat out of that space and replace it with cold air going into it. So the process of air conditioning is pretty simple. We remove the heat from the space, that heat gets removed from the air, and the air gets put back into the space as conditioned air. So if you don't have proper returns in your home, the problem is you're not actually removing the heat from the space. Then what you see happening is your air conditioner will run and it'll feel nice and cool because all that cold air is blowing on you. But the minute that air conditioner shuts off, you're going to see that you did not remove your heat from the home and the air in the home is going to rise quickly. If you think you're experiencing possible pressure problems, lack of return, lack of supply air in your home, give us a call or visit our website at aerodynamicscares.com.